What up, what up? Welcome on in to Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, we're looking ahead to Baylor Baseball's weekend series against BYU in Provo. Plus, we focus in on Baylor Softball's big weekend series versus the Texas Longhorns. All that and more coming up on the show. Don't forget, you can catch Inside Baylor Sports every weekday. You can also watch the video version for free over at BaylorPlus.com and on the Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the pod, and follow Baylor Plus today on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. It's the official content network of Baylor Athletics. Think Netflix for your Baylor Bears. Download the app on your mobile device and sign up for your free 7-day trial today at BaylorPlus.com. It's Thursday, April 11th, 2024. Justin Hoff alongside the Baylor Bear insider Jerry Hill. Jerry, big weekend ahead for the Diamond Sports. It's getting to that part of the season where every series, every game is really critical. We'll start with Baylor Softball. They'll enter the weekend with an RPI of 20, currently still ranked in the top 25 at 24. But if you want to host, this weekend is critical.
Yeah, I think, at the bare minimum, even playing two of them on the road, I think the bare minimum, you got to win one and potentially two. Like you said, to host, they probably need to win two. And then win, I don't know if they necessarily need to win out, but they need to win a lot of games down the stretch. Now, you're talking about playing a team that right now in some polls is number one in the country, number one in RPI. They're coming off a series where they took 2 of 3 from 3-time defending national champion Oklahoma. So it's probably a bit too much to ask to win 2 of 3. But certainly if they can win the one here and then maybe steal one on the road, I think that would be big. But you really need to get it started right with a win on Friday here at home. That's your best chance to win a game.
Yeah, I got to get that one. I mean, you spoke of it. Texas, they are number one in the RPI for a reason. They're really, really good. 31-6 on the season. Playing some of its best softball that we've seen in a very, very long time. And for Baylor, it's been up and down. I think they got off to a really, really strong start. Of course, they were right around top 10, and the RPI was top 10. And then the last month or so, it's been, kind of up and down. What are you seeing right now with the team? Obviously, Shaylin Govan, she's been tremendous. 455 batting average, 3 homers, 18 RBIs. Emily Hott has been just that at the plate, 7 homers, 17 RBIs, 318 average. Taylor Strange, she's batting 312. Leah Cran, she's 306. So you got some people that are over 300, but needing more, right? Needing more offense, and you can never get enough there for Baylor softball.
Yeah, and I think the frustrating thing has been in a lot of the games where they – hit the ball, right on the barrel really hard and just right at somebody. And, that happens though, when you're maybe, I'm not going to say that it's a losing mentality, but, you get in those funks where that just happens to you. And, they've got to get out of that. I think winning the series, actually winning the last 2 conference series against Tech and Iowa State, I thought that was a big step in the right direction. And then beating UTSA the other night. So they're on a little bit of a roll, but they've got to finish strong. They're not worried right now about making the tournament or anything like that. But like you said, they've got a chance at number 20 in the RPI. They've got a chance to work their way up and be a host team. They're not that far off. I mean, there's 16 host sites, and you're sitting there at number 20. So they're not that far off. I think Texas State may be 16th. So you could move ahead of them based on the schedule you're playing. And so I think they have some teams within striking distance. I believe Louisiana might be ahead of them as well. And they won 2 of 3 against them. So they just need to finish well. And like you said, some of the pieces have come together nice. Riley Crandall has been really good in the circle. So if they can just get maybe that consistency out of Aaliyah Benford as well, and where they have a really strong 1-2, which I think they do have a strong 1-2, they just need to show up in the circle and get it done there. And in the lineup, I like this lineup. Shaylin got hurt on Sunday, not sure what her status is. That was a big blow, but they were able to, win that game without her. And win on Tuesday as well. So, you get her back and you've got a really potent lineup, particularly at the top. Like you said, they need some of those other ones to come along. some of the other ones to start hitting better. But man, they have some power at the top of that lineup, and they can really do some damage up there.
Emily Hott, 16 extra base hits. That's really strong for this season. So she's done some great things for Baylor softball. But you look at their season, the schedule, and the record. 5-10 right now in the Big 12, sixth place, 22-14. Obviously, want to get over 30 wins. Want to get to 500 in the Big 12 or over. And this weekend will be pivotal in doing that. And you think about Baylor softball this season, Jerry, had high hopes, high expectations. Glenn Moore had said it. This was a team that really expected to host at the start of the season. And obviously they got some work to do to get there. And you think about some of the injuries they've had, obviously Dari Orm, one of your top pitchers. You think about a couple of years ago, she was really the go-to pitcher. Aaliyah Benford, hasn't been the same player at the plate. There was a couple of years ago where she was batting over 300 and producing some power as well. And so they've just had to find other ways to win games this season.
Yeah, because they've had some very key pieces out of the lineup and not in the circle. I mean, Dari was a big blow, and that's one they've basically dealt with all year. I mean, she pitched in a couple of games early, but really hasn't been able to do much. And then, like you said, Aaliyah, I mean, she was a pretty consistent, like 300 hitter with some power. One that could hit, maybe double-digit home runs in a season, but, she hasn't got back there yet. I think there's maybe been signs that she could get there, and Glenn has given her shots, recently. I think more he's trying to put her in the lineup when she's not pitching, just to not put too much on her in each game. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes around. She's an unbelievable talent, and you got to think that the hitting's going to come around. It's not like she just completely lost it in that area. So if you can get her coming around and some of the ones in the bottom of the lineup, producing better, like I said, this could be a really dangerous, potent lineup come postseason time.
And this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Friday game is in Waco, Big 12 now on ESPN Plus. And then that's at 6:30. And then on Saturday, it's 1:30 in Austin on ESPN2. And then on Sunday, 1 o'clock in Austin on the Longhorn Network. That may be the final time I ever watch the Longhorn Network. Of course, that's going away in the offseason. I don't think I'm going to watch it past this weekend. So that'll be that. It's a big series there. As for Baylor Baseball, they head west. And you're going to remember this because obviously the Big 12 is going west. I mean, a lot of games will be in the Mountain Time next year across a lot of sports. We'll even have some Pacific Time for half of the season. And so this is an opportunity this weekend, Jerry, going up against the BYU Cougars, a team that sits 93 in the RPI. Baylor enters the weekend 140 in the RPI. Baylor's played better as of late on the season right now, 5-7 in Big 12 play, 13-18 overall. BYU, they're 6-9 in Big 12 play, 14-15 overall record. Both teams right now on that bubble in terms of making the Big 12 tournament. There's 13 teams in Big 12 conference baseball, and 10 go to postseason play there up in Arlington.
Yeah, I think this is a really big series for that, Justin. When you're sitting, I believe if I counted it right, Baylor was sitting there at 10th and BYU at 11th. So they're right there. I believe BYU is 6-9, Baylor's 5-7. Baylor's won a couple of series, so I think there's a little bit of confidence there. But they've done that at home. They need to go on the road and do that. I mean, if you think about it, they got swept in the very first conference series at Houston, and they're still kind of chasing that. I think Mitch talks about chasing that start that they had. I think they started out 1-7, 1-8. And they've been chasing that, but I think they've been chasing that 0-3 start as well. That hurt, and then you lost 2 of 3 at Texas with a chance to win at least one more of those games. I mean, if you could have won that series, you think about it. If you had won one more game in that series, you're sitting here at 6-6. And again, if you take care of business in Houston, you shouldn't have got swept by them. You got to win at least one of those games. But again, they're sitting here in 10th. They just got to take care of business the rest of the way. If they win this series with BYU, that puts them definitely maybe even a couple of steps ahead of BYU. And BYU is the closest team chasing them. So I think that's what makes this series really big. You'd like to get the sweep. I think that's their goal going up there. But man, if you can win 2 of 3, if you can win this series, I think it puts you in great position. And I think there's some winnable series down the road, Justin. I mean, if you look at it, I think they've got some teams that they can certainly play with and are winnable games. I mean, TCU's not what it has been in the past. So I think they've got some conference series that they can win and certainly win some games. So that's definitely the goal right now, is to get in that top 10, get to the Big 12 tournament and see what you can do there, because that's the thing. If you get in there, who knows? You can maybe get on a really good run. So it'll be interesting to see what they do the rest of the way. But I think they have a chance. And this weekend, I think, starts it. They've got to have a good weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the records there. TCU really struggling. Obviously, has had a really strong program as of the last decade or so. 5-10 in Big 12 play. They are currently 12th place. Houston right now 4-11. They are bringing up the rear, 13th place. They've lost 11 consecutive Big 12 games. They started the Big 12 season 4-0, Jerry. They're now 4-11. So you're spot on with the, man, you'd like to have a mulligan. You like to have a do-over, go back to some of those games and try that hand again. And unfortunately, those games are finished, right? The scorebook's complete on those. And so you can't go back and renew them. And Baylor Baseball has got to move on. 1 win on the road on the season, 1-6 Baylor Baseball on the road, 12-9 at home, and 0-3 in neutral play as they played up at Globe Life to begin the season. That one road win against Texas on March 22nd, 4-3 win in 11 innings. So playing on the road's different. They will have altitude out there in Provo. And I haven't, I've never seen a BYU baseball game, I'll be honest. But I have watched a lot of Colorado Rockies baseball. And I know it's not quite the same altitude, but it's close. And I know with altitude, the long ball is at play. And one guy for Baylor Baseball who's been playing with the long ball, Wesley Jordan, 5 homers. He leads the team in that category. It'd be good to see a couple from Wesley Jordan this weekend.
Yeah, Wesley's been on a tear, and he certainly gives you that power kind of in the middle of the lineup. Hunter Toplansky has been on a tear of late. I mean, he had a big weekend against Incarnate Word, so you'd like to see him kind of continue that trend. And even going back to the Cincinnati series, he's strung together some really good games here. He was a guy that kind of struggled, been in a little bit of a funk, was striking out a lot, and he's kind of gotten through that. And he's really been on a good, nice tear of late. So you'd like to see both of them kind of get going this weekend and certainly have a chance. It's one of those, if you hit a big fly ball, you got a good chance of going out. I will say I have played golf in altitude, and it definitely travels more. I can't even remember which course I played, but I played up in Colorado, and I don't hit the ball very far, but it went a little bit farther in Colorado. So it definitely makes a difference. Now, I will say Provo is, like you said, Provo is not Boulder or whatever. It's not the same altitude, but it is at altitude. And so you wonder in terms of not so much like the endurance that you see a little bit of in basketball, but, again, like the ball carrying like that, it can actually affect pitching too. So, and obviously the pitcher's goal is to keep the ball down. You want as many ground ball outs as you can get. So that's kind of I think that's the goal this weekend is, for the pitchers to kind of keep the ball down low and get a lot of ground balls, and for the hitters to let it fly. I mean, let's get some home run power going and see if we can knock some out there at, I believe it's Miller Field, if I remember right. But it'll be fun. And Mitch said first time he's ever been there, ever played there. He had played BYU a few times, even played them in a regional series when he was at Mississippi State. So he knows BYU baseball, but he's never played a game in Utah. So that'll be interesting.
And Jerry, are you saying in altitude that you can hit the golf ball 300 yards or further, Tiger Woods style?
I did not say 300 yards. I just said I can hit it farther. I remember in particular, now some of this had to do with the fact that the hole was downhill too, but I was on a par 3, and I don't remember how far it was. but I hit the ball, and there's a house behind the green, and I hit it off the roof of the house that was back behind the hole. So no, my drives did not go 300, 350 yards, but it did go farther. If I actually hit it kind of the right way. Mine usually goes this way. Got a lot of bend to it. So if I could just kind of keep it down the fairway and have a nice loft on it, it would definitely travel farther. There's no doubt that altitude does have an effect on a golf ball and even a baseball and softball.
And we need some video of your swing. I got a feeling that you might be like Charles Barkley. As you're talking about that bend, I think you might do that. And by the way, did you go up to the residents there and say apologies for hitting the top of your rooftop?
The thing about it is my folks live on a golf course, and so I've experienced that kind of both ways. Although they're literally on there's a tee box that's out in front of their house, so they're not getting hits from there. But I'm saying down that fairway there, I've now mine bends right and the houses are to the left. So I'm generally not hitting the houses over there, but I'm saying I have hit in that kind of area. But no, I did not. They may still be looking for me. I think probably the proximity of that house to the course and to that particular hole, I'm guessing that I'm not the first one to hit it there.
Jerry, I don't golf. I don't think that's a surprise. I don't have very good patience. Okay. We all have strengths and weaknesses. My patience is not good. And so out on the course, I would be looking like Billy Madison throwing the clubs. And so it's one of those situations where, hey, if I see houses with glass windows, and a lot of those houses around the area, especially like the Aggie Invitational and Brian, I've been down there a few times. There's these huge houses with these glass windows in the backyard. And if I'm out there on the course, sorry, I'm probably shooting for those glass windows. When I played soccer back in the day, I see a car driving by. I'm going to try to hit that car. I know it's bad. I shouldn't do that. But I'll just stay off the golf course.
Yeah, I could see you trying to kick the soccer ball out to a car. That's really surprising though that you're not patient enough to play golf. I will say, and I have thrown a golf club or two in my career, and there have been a couple of times where I actually threw a golf club farther than I hit a golf ball. So that's a bad sign. But yeah, when you build a glass house basically on a golf course, you're asking for it. So bad on them. And if it happens, if they have 8 windows broken, maybe they'll get the message. Maybe they need to change the structure of that house.
Yeah, bad architecture there. But
That's
yes,
right. Yeah.
so Baylor baseball this weekend, some big games. They'll start tonight. All games on Big 12 now on ESPN Plus. 7 o'clock tonight, 7 o'clock Friday, and then 2 o'clock on Sunday. Also, other action going on in Baylor athletics this weekend. Big weekend for men's and women's tennis. And this begins on Friday. Women's tennis against Oklahoma, number 20 Oklahoma. Women's tennis coming off a nice win over SMU earlier in the week, and they'll finish out their regular season this weekend. Oklahoma on Friday, Jerry, and Texas on Sunday. 2 top 20 matches right here.
A good chance to get at least one quality win. They're in good position. I actually I got a chance to talk to Joey the other day, and he said that SMU one kind of solidified their tournament hopes or chances. I think they're kind of locked in essence with that SMU win. So I think they're in good shape, but man, that could definitely help them if they could knock off an Oklahoma that's sitting there at number 20, not that far ahead of you. Now, Texas, that's a different animal. I mean, they're really good. They're a top 10 team. Not sure if you're, there yet, but yeah, I believe that's right. They're both here, right? So, you got a chance. I think particularly in that Friday match against Oklahoma, good shot. So this will kind of, give you a little, hopefully you can get a little momentum going into the Big 12 tournament starts next week. So, this could give you a little momentum going into that Big 12 tournament.
And you got a matinee on Friday, 12 o'clock. So afternoon match there. And then on Sunday, 1 o'clock against Texas, all matches at the Herd Tennis Center. So looking forward to that. And then also men's tennis. Men's tennis, they're in action on the road against number 4 Texas in Austin, 4 o'clock on Saturday. And right now, both teams, in terms of the rankings, women's tennis at 34, men's tennis at 37. So both teams, trying to finish out strong here before the Big 12 championships begin next week in Oklahoma.
And here's the thing, Justin. I mean, you look at those rankings and you would think, oh, well, Baylor, the men don't have a shot against Texas, 37 versus 4, and it's on the road. But when I look at what they've done against TCU, and they've been very competitive in those matches, they've taken some of those down to the wire. This is a team that's got some talent. 1 through 6, they're good, and they've got some good doubles teams as well. So what you want to do is you want to get into the match. You want to try to take a couple of them to 3 sets and see what you can do there. That would be kind of the goal, is steal that double point to start out, and then see how many you can take to 3 sets where you give yourself a chance to win there at the end. I liked how they played a couple of those TCU matches, and TCU has been in the top 5, top 10 all year. So obviously on the road is tough. But historically, they have a really good record against Texas. So you'd like to see them pull off the big one here as they head into Big 12 tournament play next week as well.
The Tom Jones Invitational also taking place for Baylor men's and women's track and field in Gainesville, Florida, a homecoming of sorts for Alexis Brown. And so looking forward to that this weekend, a competition there beginning on Friday. And then the men's golf team, they'll be out in Phoenix, Arizona for another tournament beginning on Friday as well. That'll do it for this edition of Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Jerry Hill, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great Thursday, and Sic 'em Bears.
Sic 'em Bears.